Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the Dental Realist Podcast. I'm Dr. Ryder Waldron, and I'm joined as usual by Dr. Troy Stevens and Dr. Marcus D. Neff. And Troy, I am just happy that we could pull you away from NBA free agency so you could podcast with us tonight. Yes. How's it going?
You know, we got to hurry because I got something to. I'm sure there's something on ESPN that I'm missing right now.
You were on Kawhi Leonard watch 2019. You're just waiting to see which team he chooses to play for next year.
What do you think, Troy? Where's he going?
You know, the thing that was so interesting is when you told me that guy's name, and I said, "Who?"
And you weren't joking.
I wasn't even joking. I have no idea who he is.
Oh, it was just the NBA Finals MVP. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Dang, I guess I totally missed that one. Yeah, I'm not a follower of the NBA.
Marcus, how are you doing tonight?
All right. Today's the last day of work for the week. Tomorrow is the 4th of July, so this is a patriotic special that we're bringing to you this time. So, or something like that.
Yeah, if you stick around after the show, there will be some fireworks.
Yeah.
I'll just blow your ears out.
Yeah. Troy will scream into the microphone several times.
High-pitched squeals and loud booms.
Happy birthday, America!
That's right.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Well, guys, we are going to talk about an important topic, I think, for all dentists, and I think this would be important for young dentists and dentists that have been in practice for several years. We're going to talk about burnout in dentistry. So I'm going to read the definition from the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. This is how they define burnout: a long-term stress reaction marked by emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and a lack of sense of personal accomplishment. Does that sound familiar to you guys at all?
Yep. Yes.
Have you guys experienced any of those things?
You got to answer this one too.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And when you sent us it was an article, Troy, from the ADA News, I think, is where it was from, and I dang near had tears in my eyes. It's like someone finally understands me. So yeah,
I know. I saw that. I didn't really, associate a lot of the emotions and stuff that you have sometimes in dentistry with the word burnout. But with that definition, the whole thing by stress reaction marked by emotional exhaustion, I'm like, well, that is very, very well stated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I feel every day when I come home.
Yeah, we've talked about, we're pretty, we can be physically tired when we get home, but usually it's the mental and emotional strain that really has us tired at night and not motivated to do much else. And I had never really thought of it as burnout, but it is definitely an emotional exhaustion.
Yes, it is.
That was a good way to put it. You guys have experienced burnout, I'm assuming?
Sure.
Or are currently experiencing some dental burnout?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I was thinking, maybe it was a good question we could discuss too, is at what point in our careers did it hit us? That where you started having some of the symptoms of burnout. Go ahead,
yeah,
Ryder,
I don't know.
Go ahead, go first. What do you think?
I'm trying to think. Maybe, so we've been in practice a little over 16 years. I would say no more than a decade in probably, I would say. And, it kind of, for me, I felt it because I felt like I was stressed out all the time. And I was not always thinking about dentistry, but always like worried about dentistry. Like, is a patient going to call after hours? Are they going to be mad that their tooth hurts? Are they going to be, all of these dire scenarios would go through my mind. And I would guess it was probably, 10 or 12 years after we graduated. And I think we'll have to get to this later on, but it talks about how it hits younger dentists and, that have been out, in their mid 30s or something like that, which would have been our age. And so that's a really tough thing to deal with when you're expecting to really be ramping up and producing a lot and enjoying your career, and it feels like it's going the other way. And you probably feel like, at least I felt like, I was the only one that felt that way. until I talked to you guys about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think early on, like, it felt like there was enough stuff happening, and I was new at dentistry. I mean, even though it was stressful and things were difficult sometimes, like, there was, I don't know, maybe this underlying, I don't know if excitement's the right word, but just this anticipation
Yeah.
that, okay, I'm building something. Things are going to get better. I'm learning new things. I'm getting better at this stuff. Monitoring production numbers and seeing them start to climb early on, because I did a startup practice, so they had nowhere to go but up. But
Everything above zero was good.
yeah, but
Yeah.
for the first, like you said, probably within that first decade, there's always that anticipation that something's going to grow, something new is going to happen, and you kind of, even though you're having stressful days and there's things that are hard, it kind of helps to balance some of that out, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true, because when you get out of school, you're super excited to get to work and start making money. We've been poor dental students for 4 years, and so excited to get out and work with the public and be a grown up and this and that. And then and that lasts for a little while, because you feel like your income kind of keeps increasing. But Troy, when did it hit you? Do you feel like?
No, I think you guys are the exact same. It's kind of interesting. Because we actually, to our listeners, we did not, script this. So Marcus and Ryder have said the same thing, and I'm saying the same thing. It was about 10 years out when it started in a little bit. The first 5 years of I just remember not worrying about a whole lot of anything.
Yeah.
I just remember, like Marcus just said, everything's new. You're doing procedures, you're starting to get more into things, and it seems like you're trying to get your footing and find out, what you like, what you don't like in dentistry and all that stuff. And then the next 5 years, you're kind of comfortable with everything, and things start getting a little bit monotonous and a little boring. And once you've done a million DO on number 4, there's just not a whole lot of them that you get excited about anymore. And then the next 5 years has been really bad, because with things we've discussed in our podcast before, dentistry's income is not going up. It seems to be kind of plateaued or actually dropping, with the wonderful insurance companies dictating everything to us. And that does wear on you, because you've been doing this for so long. You're not really overly excited about some of the procedures you do anymore. It's not like, yoo-hoo, I get to do another crown on number 2 today, or a root canal on number 7. You've done so many of them, you just don't get excited about it anymore. And your
income maybe starts to plateau a little bit, or even decline slightly.
Yeah.
That adds a little.
Mine's declined a little bit, and so it's like, oh, I'm like saying, what's the positive outcome of this here again? And then in that compiled with you trying to make sure staff's happy, make sure all your patients are happy, meeting all those expectations all day, every day for 16 years now for us. It does. It's like it says here, there's a long-term stress reaction. So I'm guessing in our 3 thing, it's about 10 years, right? Long-term would be about 10 years. It seems like it starts hitting pretty heavy. Now think of this, though. Yeah. There are dentists out there that practice for 30 and 40 years.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, yeah, we've got a long road to hoe. So
we definitely do. My business partner just hit 30 years.
Man.
So it's kind of crazy.
And, in most jobs, 30 years is retirement age. But dentistry, we've talked about the retirement age of dentists on this podcast, and it's getting near 70. Mm-hmm. Like 70 years. And that, if the average dental or dentist graduates in their late 20s, I mean, that's a over 40-year career. That is a long time to be doing this, especially if you're under emotional and mental strain all the time.
Yep.
And I found this. So, Troy, you also sent us the 2015 Dentist Well-Being Survey report that was done by the ADA. And This says the work of active dentists appears to be stressful with the potential to impact health, which is totally true. Dentists under the age of 40 were disproportionately affected by health effects of work. This age group was less likely to feel in control of their work environment, scored higher on a depression scale, and was at higher risk of alcoholism compared to older dentists. And then it says younger dentists may potentially benefit from additional support and education to improve their ability to cope with stress and to maintain positive psychological well-being. So that would be about the time that, obviously we would be under 40, but, we were in our late 30s when we'd been out, or right around there, late 30s, early 40s when we were out of school for 10 years. And that's when it seems to hit. And that is kind of how it felt. Like you're not in control of the work environment. Like it's the patients and the staff that dictate things, and the insurance, and it sends you into a depression. The stress
all that
and
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And, the three of us haven't turned to alcoholism yet or drinking, but if we were drinkers, it may be an option, guys.
I don't know if I ever told the story.
Go.
I'm sorry, Marcus.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The guy that I bought my practice from in 2004, he had been practicing for 52 years.
Oh, yeah. My word.
He retired when he was 82. And he told me and my current business partner, he says, I don't know how you guys do it because, we don't drink. And he said, I don't know how you guys do it. He goes, I go home every single night and have a drink. He says, that's how I have to unwind. I don't know how you guys do it. And so that goes right along with what we're reading here with this ADA study. Now, this is the American Dental Association's study of 2015. It's a dentist well-being study. They surveyed 7,475 dentists and got this data. I don't remember. We talked a little bit before coming on the show today about getting this. I'm positive I did not send in any data to them. I don't know if you would have either. You two.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't remember doing it
either. So,
no.
There's a lot of dentists out there. 7,000 is a lot, but it's not all of them. But I find that interesting that he mentioned that. He goes, I don't know how you guys do it. I have to go home and have a drink. Yeah.
Yeah. You back in it seems like in the 50s, you'd have this, picture of the dad coming home from work and going into the den and having a glass of scotch to relax for 10 or 15 minutes. And it's like, maybe we should bring those times back.
Right.
but we haven't yet.
Going back to what you were talking about, what did they say? The young dentists feel like they don't have control over their careers, and
Yeah.
Somebody where I work, we have behavioral health people that work where I work, and one of them was talking about burnout, and they described it as your closely held beliefs and your thoughts, those kind of things, are in conflict with your reality and your situation, and so that can contribute to that stress, that burnout. And I think that's kind of true because you have this idealism of what your practice life is going to be like and what you want it to be like, and then over time you start to realize that there's a lot of things you can't control or that you wish you could control but you can't. And the way you would want to practice or the way that you want to live your life, but there's all these other things controlling it, and you can't, and it causes this conflict within you, and I think that's part of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we've talked about when we go to like dental conventions or talk to other dentists, and you always get the rosy picture painted that everything's great, practice is going awesome, we're busy, I love my patients, things like that. And it's kind of like social media. If you go on Facebook or Instagram or any of those, all you're seeing is the highlights of people's lives. You're seeing like the best of the best, and you compare your life to them when your kids are home screaming or you're having an argument with your wife or something like that. But you don't see that on social media. Their kids are perfect, their marriages are ideal, and there's just nothing going wrong. So then you start comparing your lives to those, and you think, God, my life isn't even that good. Like, this is kind of sad. And the same thing with dentists is that we have a hard time telling other dentists that, this kind of sucks sometimes. It's hard to be a dentist. It's stressful, but all you hear is when you talk to people is that how great it is. So then you have a hard time, at least I have a hard time, admitting that, gosh, I don't love it all the time. It's not that easy all the time, and it really stresses me out. So then you feel like you're like this outlier dentist who doesn't really love dentistry sometimes. And that can, like you said, kind of conflict with how you're feeling inside or your like rational thoughts, and it puts you into a kind of a depressed state.
Yeah. And we're not bringing this up and talking about this today with the intent to tell people, oh, don't go into dentistry. It's horrible. You'll be depressed and you'll have burnout. A year in or something.
True, but we're not saying that.
But it's
no.
It's the reality that you're gonna more than likely. I mean, if 75% of dentists experience it, the majority of our listeners at some point are going to experience burnout. So we just want you to be aware of that you're not weird for feeling this way. You have a lot of company, and maybe we'll get into it later on. We'll talk about a few things that maybe you can try to cope, and maybe some things that have helped us at times. But anyway.
Yeah.
No, that's true, because we have so many young dentists and dental students that listen to us, and if we can at least let them know that this is probably going to happen, don't let it ruin you or ruin your career. And there is help out there. Like I would love to see the ADA maybe have some sort of mental health professionals that can deal with, how dentists deal with like the stress that dentists go through, and help people with this, because what did it say, that 75% of dentists deal with moderate to severe stress at some point in their careers, and I can guarantee all three of us have dealt with moderate or severe stress. And I would guess that a lot of these numbers are probably lower than the reality is, I guess, because most dentists aren't going to admit that they are stressed out.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Right.
I admit I am.
No, absolutely. And you're not alone. It says on this thing, this is about half of dentists, men as well as women, indicated it would be difficult for them to seek professional help because they think they should be able to solve their own problems. How true is that?
That is totally
because we
true.
sit here and we think all the time that, I shouldn't be feeling this way, man. I should be able to get a grip on myself.
I'm making good money. Why am I?
Why am I depressed and burnt out and stuff? I work 4 days a week, for crying out loud, and so it's like it's really a struggle, and that I think adds to the stress. Is the fact that you're like going, man, how come I can't get out of this little rut, or start feeling like, let's feel the newness and the freshness of it when you first get out of school, where it's so awesome when you're in there doing your first few fillings, you know, and you're kind of feeling like you've got a purpose and whatnot, where it just seems like that just dwindles. And I think it would dwindle in almost every profession. I mean, we're speaking of dentistry because we're dentists, and that's what this podcast is all about. But I mean, when you do something for this long, over and over and over, this repetitive, you're gonna have issues with burnout.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. And they also said that these people that are feel this way score much higher on depression indicators.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's something that happens all the time. Is you feel like you should be able to get a grip on it, and you get depressed because you can't.
Well, yeah, and then from the outside looking in, people would think this guy or gal has a high income, they've got a happy marriage, everything's good, and so they think they have no right to be depressed. What have they got to be depressed about? But I saw something on, I don't know, it was online somewhere about, somebody had made the comment like, how can somebody be depressed when they're laughing so much? I think it was talking about like an actor or actress, something like that. And then somebody had posted a picture of Robin Williams, who committed suicide, and he was laughing all the time and seemed to make people happy all the time. And inside he was depressed. So it isn't something that you can, I mean, if you could just make yourself happy all the time, then why would you not do that? But some of this, it goes against your rational thinking. You should be happy, and you just can't just make yourself happy and let go of this stress that easily.
Totally true. That's the thing. Laughter is a one way of coping. I mean, how many times have you done it where you just crack a joke or something like that just because you're so stressed out, you have to laugh it off,
Well, and think about us three. I mean, we're texting each other. We've had a group text going, I think, since dental school ended, or
like 2003.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, and that may be one suggestion we can offer is, you need to have connections with people. I mean, if you're in a solo practice, obviously that can be really isolating, but even if you're not, just having people that you can feel like you can genuinely be your honest self with, and you don't have to put up this front that I'm just loving my career or everything's great. You can be honest, you can joke with each other, you can give each other crap sometimes,
Yeah, somebody that's not going to judge you, because, I'd hate to go to a dentist or something like that and say, gosh, I just really am stressed out about this, I don't know, crown, whatever, this patient, whatever you're doing. And they'd be like, buck up. This is stupid. Quit being a baby. Just go do it. And it's like, well, gosh, I don't want to tell that person anything if they're just going to degrade me or be condescending. So, you got to find somebody you can actually, if the three of us tell each other something that's like, we joke around and make fun of each other, but we at least feel like we have each other's backs for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. Just don't go talk to people at the dental meetings, because 95% of them will lie to you anyway.
It's true.
Everything's perfect. Everything's bliss. And, yeah, right.
I was going to say, unless Marcus puts a knife in my back with some rude Utah Jazz joke or something like that.
Well,
but
those are,
anyway.
I mean, sometimes the truth hurts, but,
Those are heartfelt.
But yeah, that's true, Troy, because if you go to a dental convention, you usually don't get the honest answer. And it's always like refreshing when you hear a lecturer or somebody that's speaking at one of these conventions that actually tells it like it is. Like, yeah, sometimes dentistry sucks, or sometimes you're not going to get the perfect feeling. And I don't know if it was the three of us that were at a convention or something, and I heard somebody say that all dentistry is temporary. It's all going to fail at some point, and it's like, yes, okay, that's good to know, because yeah, because when these patients come in to get a crown and then they're surprised that they broke or that they got decay underneath it, and it's like, yeah, it's not going to last forever, but they think it should last forever, so then you feel, as the dentist, feel like it should last forever, and it's just not realistic.
Doctor, this tooth had a crown on it. It's impossible to get a cavity on it. I heard that this week. It's impossible.
Wow.
It's a crown, doctor.
Yeah.
Well, let me explain to you what a crown is, patient.
Patient.
Yeah, you know how they always tell you that it's not their tooth.
Yeah. I don't have any of my teeth left. Well, yeah, they're all your teeth. They're just under a crown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember them putting someone else's tooth in there? Because that looks like a tooth to me. What's underneath the crown? Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Well, talking about the ADA doing stuff about this, they actually do have a conference coming up on August 16th in Chicago. The ADA Practice Institute thing. It's doing a management and prevention of burnout in dentistry.
Oh, that's right.
So they are doing that, which is good. I think that it's a decent thing. I'm sure that it's got some good stuff. I wish I could go. Unfortunately, I have to work.
Yes.
Your boss won't let you off.
Definitely will not let me have that off. And not only that, I really don't want to go to Chicago because I don't like Chicago. I've been there a lot.
Oh, I do.
I'm not a fan of Chicago.
Come on.
So.
Come on, Chicago's a good city.
Now you've offended all of our Chicago listeners.
I apologize.
That's right.
Don't like Chicago. Too many people.
I was just in Chicago a few months ago for a Star Wars convention, and I had a great time, Chicago listeners.
Are you going to go to Chicago again for this, or are you just going to stick with the Star Wars part?
No, I've got to work too. But I'll take off for Star Wars stuff, but
Yeah.
dentistry, maybe not. But I think this is it's a good thing, because I think the ADA actually shedding some light on this is good, so that other dentists don't feel like they're so isolated, because there is a reason that dentistry is usually in the top 5 for professions with suicides. There's a good reason for it. Yep. Because it is so stressful, but we have a hard time admitting that we're stressed out by it.
Yeah. We do have a hard time, admitting that there is a lot of stress involved and whatnot. We've talked before in the past about, how some of these things come out with these 100 best jobs or whatever it is, and dentists always rank in the top 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, whatever. Well, I was just kind of Googling around today, just kind of thinking, where are we standing now? And the U.S. News and World Report one is the one that popped up. Was funny. It was kind of hit me, and we put us at level 4 actually, which is a little bit down lower. Now this is overall.
Yeah.
If you isolate it down to the best healthcare jobs, we're number 2, but this is just overall jobs. And I was like, where do they rank the stress on a level of 10? It has us at 6. I think
6 out of 10.
I think that's low. I think that's low.
That is low. I think so too.
Unless, I don't know, maybe, we've talked a little bit about past and ownership versus like a associateship versus, someone who works for a corporation. I wonder if it's dropped, the stress is less with people that work in the corporate world or not. You've got a guaranteed salary,
Yeah.
I don't know how much pressure. I've never done it, so I don't know. I don't know how much pressure they feel to make sure their patients feel like they want to come back. Do they feel like, they can just herd them through? I wonder. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I can give you my own anecdotal, experience having worked as a private practice owner, and now the last 5 years worked in a community health center, kind of a corporate type environment. And while I still feel kind of that burnout that's what we're talking about, I don't know that I feel it to the level I did when I was in private practice, because I don't have the same layers of stressors. I've still got patients, I've still got the procedures, I've still got all that kind of stuff to worry about, but I don't have the layers of management ownership stress. Like, everything is on you. It's all on you when you own the practice, from human resources to taxes to all of it.
Yeah,
That's a good
and you'll
point.
have stress. It'll just be a different kind of stress. But the stress about not having the practice go under or something like that, I guess that's taken away. But you could still lose your job, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's a stress you've got to worry about. You still have to do dentistry, and so
And now that's
probably a
going
different
back
kind
to
of
that,
stress.
Thanks for bringing that up, Ryder. They actually, one of the things that they put down here as an unemployment rate of dentists is 0.9%. So I don't know, that might not be too stressful to, if you have a 0.9% rate in your career field, that's pretty darn low. There's a
you can find a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to find a job somewhere. You could be a crappy dentist and still find a job.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you don't hear of a lot of people saying I'm a dentist looking for work.
Right.
Unless you're just right out of school or something. You don't hear that too often. So yeah, that is good to know.
Yep, that just came up. But
Yeah, that's interesting. How was burnout? Like, how have you guys felt burnout in your lives? How have you felt it has impacted your personal life, especially?
Well, I think there's times when I, it's like a wave, sometimes it's a little worse, sometimes it's a little better, but generally when I felt the most burnout, I feel like I don't have anything left when I get home. I get home and I kind of want to be by myself. I just want to do my own thing. I want to just surf the internet or scroll through Facebook or watch a game on TV, and I don't want to be interrupted. I don't want to take the time to, interact with my wife or kids, and that's not healthy. I mean, it really isn't when you think about it. That's not a good thing. Those are people that you've committed your life to, and so when it gets to that level, that's getting kind of serious.
And those are the people you go to work for, like, to provide this income. I mean, yeah, it's great to provide a service for your patients, but really the number one people in your lives are your family. So yeah, that's a good point. What about you, Troy? How have you felt it manifest itself?
I mean, Marcus' answer is exact same as mine. You just feel like when you've talked to 30 or 40 people during the day from all age groups, you seriously don't have anything left. You go home, you sit on the couch, and the next thing you know, you're waking up going, I guess I oughta go to bed now. You're just worn out. The way that they worded that in Burnout thing, the emotional exhaustion, depersonalization. That's the thing too. I've noticed, I used to be a really happy-go-lucky guy, and I still fake it pretty well at work. But I used to be like, this really outgoing person who really loved to go out and hang out with my buddies and stuff. I don't do that much. I just don't have any desire. You know, sometimes people call us and say, "Hey, you want to come over for dinner?" Well, not really. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's because I've just talked to so many people during the day that I'm just like, you know, I'm done. I want to sit at home, like Marcus said, and watch YouTube or sit at home and just do nothing. You know, and it's not healthy. Exactly like Marcus said, it's not healthy. You have to do something to get out of that rut because, you know, your wife yells at you or something like that, and she says, you know, you need to quit being so distant or whatever. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't even know I was being distant.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way because I've got pretty young kids, and I get home and they're like excited to see me, and so I mean, and that obviously makes me excited that they want to, you know, see me and go hang out and play basketball or whatever. But then it's like, oh my gosh, I just want to sit for a minute and just like decompress. And you know, honestly, it's not fair to them to, you know, neglect them or anything. I mean, it's not neglecting them, but you know what I'm saying. And but then again, it is important to take care of yourself also, and maybe take a few minutes to do something by yourself. You know, I hear a lot of people that go and, you know, will just do something by themselves for an hour a day or something like that. But whenever I do that, I feel like I'm being, you know, just not paying attention to my family, or being a little too selfish. And really, we've been at work all day. It's not like we've been out having a great time and partying it up or something, but it just feels like you want to go home and sit and stare at a wall for a while. And that's not going to get you out of that rut either, but no. I don't know.
I mean, what are some things that you guys have found that, I mean, even if they haven't fixed the problem, they've helped at times or have improved the situation somewhat?
Yeah. You know, talking to somebody about it, talking to friends or family, getting like an outside perspective. You know, like we've talked about that if, you know, we have a hard time with a patient, any procedure, you can't get somebody numb or something like that. I had that today. And, you know, talking to you guys about it, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that happens all the time. Not a big deal. It still feels like a big deal to, you know, when it's you that it's happening to, but to hear somebody else say, yes, that happens to me too. You're not a crappy dentist. You're not a failure or anything like that. It happens to everybody. It's normal dental practice. And, you know, whenever I talk to any dentist and get an honest like opinion about how dentistry is going or something like that, and they tell me, you know, sometimes it sucks or sometimes it's hard, it's good to hear that, because then you feel like you're not the only one, that it's actually happening with other people. Or, you know, when your wife tells you, like, you know, she appreciates you actually going to work and putting up with some of this stress, it's like, okay, well, that's great, and that does make you feel better. At least you feel like you're doing it for a reason. But I think talking to like a professional therapist, something like that, can really help. Mm-hmm. You know, get your mindset straight. I think that's important. I think mental health is as important as physical health in a lot of ways. Yeah. So I don't know. Those are some of the things I've thought of.
Yeah. I think in that article they mentioned a couple of them that popped out to me were journaling. Wasn't that one of them in there?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Have you guys ever done that? I haven't. No. I'll admit, I'm not like a journaling kind of guy, but
no.
What do you think of that?
But that was an interesting thing. Well, here's what I thought about with that. You know, we've been doing this long enough that we've seen a lot of the stuff, either when it's dealing with patients or dealing with staff, and sometimes I'll think back like, okay, this was a really stressful time. I had this, you know, patient, things didn't go well, or with a staff member. I think it was over within a week or something like that. Everything worked out fine. I'm still in practice and things are going well. So this is going to be stressful for a few days, a few hours, something like that, but it will go away. So I think if you had written that down and then you can go back and read that and see like, okay, yeah, I do remember that was really a stressful thing. And I made it through it. I was strong enough to make it through it. Yeah, it worked out. So I think that would probably be a helpful thing. I just never thought about that as an option.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah, another thing, that there was another quote by that, I think it was Dr. Sam or someone was her name.
Yeah.
She said something along the lines of the fact that burnout comes not from, or you get burnout from talking to so many people, right? But if you're not making personal connections with them, that you burn out more. Yeah. That's, I guess, statistically. I don't know. I think mine is a sheer number of people. I mean, you're going from, and of course I've been in practice for a while now. I know these people pretty well. 30 people that you know pretty good now every day, and you're kind of like just drained after you're like, okay, what's John doing with his life? What's Molly doing with her life? What's this? And then by the end of the day, you're just like, I just don't even care anymore,
Well, and I'll admit, there are a lot of times that I really don't want to create a personal connection with people.
Yeah.
I mean, is it okay to say that out loud? Like,
yeah.
Yes, it is.
I don't want to run into him at the store. I don't want to see him at church. I don't want to, I just,
right.
Because I just don't want to have to, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, no, and the thing is, like, you feel like if you put this effort into making a personal connection, that's great. But then the second something goes wrong or they owe you money and they don't want to pay it, well, then they've broken that personal connection and you feel betrayed by that. Yeah. So it's hard to invest energy in a relationship that you're not sure is going to last for a long time. I mean, like, if you were dating somebody or, married to somebody, I guess maybe dating would be a better example, and you felt like, well, it's not really going to go anywhere. It's not going to end up in I'm not going to marry this person. I don't really trust them that much to, have my best interest at heart. So I'm not going to really give it my all in this relationship. So I could totally understand what you're saying, Marcus. That makes perfect sense.
Perfect sense.
I am a severe introvert. And so as I've read up on introversion and stuff like that, I find out that introverts prefer just a handful of close friends, and that's enough for them. And I feel like I've got my handful of friends, and so to try to make connections with all of these people every day, all day, every day, and it is exhausting to me. Yeah. I need a break, and I feel just emotionally exhausted, like it says, with burnout, and we're just putting this effort forth every day because we have to.
That's something to consider when you're thinking about going into dentistry. Is like, what? Are you,
definitely.
If you're an introvert, it doesn't mean you can't be a dentist, but just remember you're probably going to have some challenges because a lot of being a successful dentist is personality and people connecting with you, and it's more than just the dentistry that you provide.
For sure.
Yeah, and I've thought about people that don't seem to be as stressed by dentistry, and we know some of them, the three of us do, who they're pretty charismatic. They don't seem to, whenever you're talking to them, it doesn't feel like they're totally interested in you, but they can have something go wrong at their office and it just rolls right off their back. They don't worry about it. They just say, well, we heard somebody say that, they place implants as a general dentist, and we asked, well, what happens if one fails? Oh, it's fine. Just take it out and do it again, or, just take it out and do something else, or what. Like, I would feel terrible.
Yeah.
I hate it when a filling breaks or something like that. So I think personality-wise, being honest about how your personality is huge before you get into dental practice.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things, kind of going back to the question of what you can do to prevent burnout, I think is exercise helps to diffuse a little bit of it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get rid of it, of course. Like you said, I don't think anything truly gets rid of it. I think once you've been in it long enough, you're going to feel a certain level of it. It's just getting it to a level that it's manageable and it's not ruining your life. And then in the well-being survey, 94% of dentists engaged in some form of exercise in an average week. So, there's a lot of exercise going on in most dentists' lives. And I think that may be because, we're trying to diffuse the stress a little bit and push it off a little bit, which that seems to help a little bit. That's why I go ride my bike for long periods of time. But another thing that my business partner brought up one time when I asked him about how he deals with burnout, because he's been doing it for 30 years. He says that sometimes going to CE courses and stuff like that, that he wants to be at or wants to learn more of or more about and things like that somehow can help kind of maybe bring back make it feel fresh and stuff like that, and the troublesome part is you get to a point where you're like, I really don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that.
Sit in another room watching slides.
I don't want to do that. Yeah. So you got to, make sure you're interested in the things that the courses you go to. Don't go to a course just for the sake of going to the course.
Well, yeah. After you've been at doing dental work all day, the last thing you want to do sometimes is go hear about more dental work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go spend your weekend listening to talk about dentistry.
Yeah. So you get home Sunday night late. Oh, you just had a 3-day course. Good. Monday morning. Let's get back at it.
Yeah, and it's true. And you know how you say, you like to go ride your bike for long periods of time. Sometimes I get out there, ride my bike or, whatever, to exercise, playing basketball, something like that. And I still feel this like underlying stress. And even then it's hard for me to just let it go and be able to focus on exercise sometimes because I feel like it's always there or like there's something else I need to be doing right now to, manage the practice or something like that. And so even doing fun things like exercise or hanging out with family or friends, it's hard for me to let that stress go. And I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but that's how I feel a lot of the time.
Yep.
Oh, it is. On the weekend when my phone rings, I always look, oh crap, here we go.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
It's not. I get. It's very rarely as a dental patient, but just the thought of, oh crud, I might have to go to the office. I might have to get one of my assistants to go in. It's always on the back of your mind. It's like it just never goes away.
Yeah.
So here's a
true.
question that I have: is when does somebody know, or how do you figure out this is too much? It's time for me to get out of dentistry. That's a tough question.
Ooh, boy.
I think.
Yeah, that is a tough question. I would think when you have exhausted all of your options as far as dealing with stress, you've tried to learn some coping mechanisms, you've maybe talked to a therapist to help you out. If it's really starting to affect your life negatively, it's affecting your relationship with your wife or your kids or your husband, whoever it is, then I would think, unless dentistry is more important to you than those relationships in your family, then it might be time to get out.
Yeah,
I agree. And if you're getting to a point where you're seriously considering harming yourself or doing something, you got to get help. Don't be one of those guys. Definitely that's not worth it. Definitely not worth it.
Yeah.
You can get out. Find something else to do. That's one thing. We have discussed this in the past amongst the three of us in private conversation is what would you do if you weren't, a dentist anymore, kind of thing. And unfortunately, none of us have come up with any good answers.
It's hard to think of what else could I do that has this kind of income. And
I know. With this kind of work schedule, honestly, man, could you go back to a 5-day work week? I don't know if I could.
I don't know. And, the thing is, if with somebody that, we've talked about has like a sales degree or, some, an MBA or something like that, they can do all types of, they can have all types of jobs and work in different industries. But as a dentist, you're a dentist, and there are a limited amount or a limited number or type of jobs that you can have as a dentist. You can be a dentist, you can teach, you can maybe lecture, do a handful of other things, but
I don't know.
Yeah, but for the most part, you're a dentist, so you've got to do dentistry, and unless you find some other skill or something like that, you're kind of stuck. Yeah. It's a specialized skill.
And it's a
very
tough thing
specialized
because it takes a while to get rid of the debt, to pay down a practice,
right?
Those kind of things.
Yeah,
those aren't simple things that are just, man, this has been too stressful. I'm walking away.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
So.
And sometimes you wonder, because you go through all these people who are these positive thinkers. The guys that go around and lecture. What's his name? Tony Robbins. They always tell you if you're feeling burnout and you're not liking what you're doing, you need to change it. But I think in dentistry, like the problem we have is that we have invested so much money and time into this that it's almost like you feel like there's no other option.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, Marcus, kind of your question alluded to that a little bit, is, it's a really challenging profession to try and do something else because we're so specialized in that.
Yeah.
We're so specialized. We don't have any other skill sets, unfortunately, other than maybe management. However, if you're going to apply for a management position, you say, well, I'm a dentist and I ran an office. They're going to say, haha, funny. Goodbye.
Yeah.
You're not qualified. You don't have a master's in business administration, stuff like that. But we do manage businesses. We do.
It's true.
We have staff.
They're small businesses.
We're HR people. We're all this stuff. But it's a very interesting dynamic in this profession. And I would think that medical doctors are very similar in that respect. Is, what do you do if you don't want to be a medical doctor anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a physician. That's what you are. That's what you do. It's like you're a dentist. That's what you are. That's what you do. So it's very interesting. Yeah, thought about that a couple times. If it got to a point where you just couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah, that is interesting, and that I don't know. I think it would be hard to admit that I'm not cut out to be a dentist. It's hard for dentists because dentists are. I mean, you got to admit it that they're successful people. They've gone to a lot of school. And so it's hard to admit when you feel like a failure or you have failed or something. It doesn't even mean you're a failure. It just means that maybe your personality or, whatever is not cut out for this. But, so hopefully people that are listening can realize that other dentists are going through this burnout, and there's ways to get help. There's ways to get through it. Don't do anything drastic. Enjoy it if you can. Don't enjoy the burnout. Enjoy dentistry.
Right. Yeah. Do something to try and make it a little more positive for you. Talk to people. Like we said earlier, and Ryder said it, is just, man, this is common. I think this is really, really common.
Yeah,
and I don't think anybody out there should feel like it's not, like they're the only person experiencing it. I mean, according to this survey, 75% of dentists deal with this stuff. So, that's a lot more than don't.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's low. 75% seems low to me.
I think it just varies. It's so subjective. What I ask somebody, are you stressed? Well, what causes stress to you may not cause stress to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, that's true.
It's a fairly subjective thing, but dentistry as an industry and as a job or a profession, I guess I should say, is very stressful because we demand perfection out of everything in an imperfect environment, and there's no way you can be perfect, but yet we want to be perfect, and so we're always at that, we're always batting our heads against that, going, I want to be perfect, but I can't, and it's
and
super
rationally you can't.
Rationally.
You can't, but. Yeah. I mean, Troy, you're stressed out because you don't know where Kawhi Leonard's going to land.
That's been a really,
what are you gonna
stressful
do?
point for me.
I've been losing sleep over it.
It's driving me crazy. I was just hoping he'd go to the Jazz. I thought,
if he went to the Jazz, well, I wouldn't. I'm not even going to say what I would do. But
buy season tickets.
No, I was thinking. No, I'll think about what I will do if Kawhi Leonard goes to the Jazz. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. You would hear me scream hallelujah from here.
I'll be darned.
And you guys
we live in another state.
Several hours away. Yeah, wow. I mean, that just made my heart go pitter patter thinking about that.
You just never know.
You never know. Well, I think I do know, but everybody else has signed with the Jazz this offseason. Come on, Kawhi.
There you go.
It's not too late.
There you go.
We'll make room. This is the place. This is where you belong. So, well, do you guys have anything to add before we wrap it up tonight?
No, I think we had a good discussion. Hopefully our listeners take some good stuff from it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you want to tell them where they can get in contact with us, Marcus, and find us, and tell Kawhi Leonard where he can find me?
That's right. You can reach us, dentalrealist@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter account @dentalrealist. We're on Facebook. We also have a couple of books that you can check out and read. Really good information in them. So You Want to Be a Dentist is our first book, and also we have So Now You're a Dentist. Little different take than the first one, but similar content. Really good stuff, if I do say so myself.
You just did.
Are you biased, Marcus? I mean, really? I mean, since
when
you
it's
authored
good,
the books.
When it's good, it's good. We did a great job.
I'm telling you what.
You got to be honest.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah, so, we appreciate everybody joining us tonight on episode 40 of the Dental Realist Podcast.
40, and, just real quickly, as we were talking about, it's 40 years old is about when these problems start happening with dentistry,
true.
and this is episode 40.
Perfect.
I think it was
episode
appropriate
number.
we talked about burnout.
Yes.
I think that's a good one, Troy. Yep. And when the Jazz win the championship, my burnout will be gone.
There you go. No more burnout.
Yeah. So, yeah. So join us on episode 41, and we will talk to you then. Thanks.